Few things are more uniquely Australian than the panel van. No boot, no back seat, no apologies. Just an enormous cargo area, a 6 or a V8 up front, and enough attitude to fill an entire car park. The panel van was not just a vehicle, it was a lifestyle statement. A surf trip waiting to happen, and occasionally a rolling scandal. Welcome to the 12 greatest Australian panel vans ever built. Some are rare, some legendary, and at least one of them changed the culture permanently. Most panel vans get remembered for being cool. The XH Falcon gets remembered for being last. When Ford quietly wound down XH production in the late 90s, nobody threw a party or gave a speech. There was no farewell tour. The Falcon van line simply ended, and Ford never replaced it with anything. That absence says everything. The Longreach was a proper working vehicle. Reliable, well-equipped, and completely honest about what it was built to do. Australian tradespeople had trusted the Falcon van for decades, and the XH gave them no reason to stop. It did the job without complaint, exactly the way it always had. But that quiet dependability is actually what makes it sting. The XH deserved a better send-off than a silent discontinuation. It was the last of its kind. It kept the faith until the very end, and that earns it a spot on this list without question. Let us be upfront about what the WB panel van is, and what it is not. It is not a Sandman. Holden made sure of that. By the time the WB arrived, the recreational van era was winding down, and Holden positioned the WB squarely as a commercial vehicle. No wild colors, no beach parking aspirations, no shag carpet ambitions whatsoever. Just a tough workhorse built to carry things and do it reliably. And honestly, good on it. The WB did exactly what was asked without pretending to be something else. It served tradespeople, small businesses, and anyone who needed an enclosed van that started every morning without drama and came home every evening without excuses. What gives the WB its significance is straightforward. After it, the traditional Holden panel van era was simply over. No successor followed. Sometimes the least glamorous car in the story is still absolutely essential to the story. So far, these were workhorses, but now the panel van stops just carrying tools and starts carrying attitude. Everyone remembers the XC Sundowner, and rightly so, but Ford was not about to let the lifestyle van idea die just because the XC moved on. The XD stepped up and made sure the Sundowner name still meant something. 4.1-liter engine, floor shift 4-speed manual, sports instruments, driving lights, bonnet spoiler, and enough exterior striping to be visible from a beach 3 blocks away. Ford delivered the hardware and the attitude in equal measure. What the XD Sundowner understood is that a name is only worth keeping if you do it justice. This was not a badge-engineered shortcut through the model change. It was a genuine factory lifestyle van with real credentials and a clear sense of its own identity. It will never fully escape the XC's shadow, and perhaps that is unfair. Judge the XD on its own terms, and you will find a proper Sundowner that kept the dream alive at exactly the right moment. Before the shag carpet, before the airbrush murals, before the Sandman turned panel vans into a cultural institution, there was the FJ. Holden's panel van story was already well underway by the mid-50s, and the FJ version represents one of its most charming early chapters. 2 doors, an enclosed load area, and that beautifully rounded shape that makes every FJ look like it is permanently delighted to see you. Nobody was fitting racing stripes to an FJ panel van. The people driving these were carrying tools, delivering goods, and getting on with business in a country still finding its feet after the war. Practical, dependable, and quietly tough, these vans were built for work, and work is what they got. But strip away the history and you still have one of the best-looking shapes Holden ever put on a road. The FJ panel van is a genuinely beautiful machine, and that counts for plenty. The early Holden story is only warming up. One model is about to make the panel van look cleaner, taller, and much more recognizable. The FB Holden is the moment things started looking more like the panel van Australia would eventually fall in love with. The FB brought a taller, more upright load area that was actually useful for carrying things of substance, and the overall shape began moving toward that proper enclosed van silhouette that would define the Aussie panel vans across the decades ahead. Styling-wise, the FB was a genuine step forward. Clean, confident lines, an interior that felt more resolved than its predecessors, and a panel van body that finally looked like the design team had given it serious attention rather than treating it as a commercial afterthought. Restorers who track down a solid FB panel van today know exactly what they have found. These things are not common, they are not straightforward to restore, and a clean example in two-tone paint is one of the finest looking early Australian commercials you will ever stand next to in a paddock. Ask serious Holden people to name the most beautiful shape the brand produced before the muscle car era, and a very large number of them will say EH without hesitating. Clean, elegant, and perfectly proportioned, EH had a quality that most of its contemporaries simply could not match. The panel van version carries every bit of that beauty while also carrying your tools, which is an impressive combination by anyone's measure. The EH also introduced Holden's red 6-cylinder engine, and that matters more than people give it credit for. The red motor gave the van a genuine performance foundation that made driving one a meaningfully different experience than anything that came before it. Today, finding a clean EH panel van is genuinely difficult, and the prices at swap, meets, and auctions reflect exactly that. The collector market has spoken loudly and clearly. The EH panel van is not just historically important, it is genuinely, undeniably special. Holden had style, but Ford was about to bring attitude. The humble work van was starting to look a lot tougher. The XR Falcon was the moment Ford arrived with serious intent, and the panel van version carried that same energy. Ford marketed the XR around its Mustang connection, giving the whole range a more muscular and modern image than anything wearing a Falcon badge had projected before. The panel van body style was part of that range, and it wore the new attitude well. The XR brought a sharper, more aggressive look to the Falcon van, and the V8 era image it projected was exactly what a generation of young Australians wanted parked outside the pub. Even though the van itself remained primarily a commercial body, the XR made it look like so much more than that. It was the moment the Falcon panel van stopped being purely functional and started becoming genuinely desirable, a small but important shift in the story. Few panel vans wear their era as well as the XY Falcon. That shape is immediately and unmistakably correct, the kind of design that looks like it arrived fully formed from somewhere between a racetrack and a surf beach. The XY range officially included a two-door panel van body style, and today collectors pursue clean examples with a dedication that borders on obsessive. The XY was a proper working van that happened to look like a hero. Ford built it tough, kept it honest, and gave it enough presence on the road to turn heads, even in an era when Australian cars were genuinely exciting. That takes real talent. Decades later, the XY panel van sits at the very top of any serious Falcon collector's wish list. Time has been nothing but kind to it, and the prices being paid for good examples prove exactly that. This is where the beach culture kicks in hard. Surfboards, stripes, sunburn, and one Falcon van that looked like trouble on wheels. The XB Falcon is one of the best-looking Australian cars of the entire decade, and the panel van version is arguably the pick of the entire range. Ford leaned hard into the beach and surf lifestyle with the Surfaroo package, giving buyers a factory route to turn their XB van into something that looked like it had just driven off a poster. The XB body itself is the reason this works so well. Long, low, and muscular in exactly the right proportions, it gave the panel van a presence that no amount of stripes and driving lights could have manufactured on a lesser shape. The bones were simply excellent. Today, the XB Falcon panel van is a serious collector piece, commanding serious money and generating serious admiration wherever it appears. It is everything a mid-70s Australian panel van should be, with absolutely nothing left out. Nobody talks about the CL Drifter nearly enough, and that is a genuine injustice. Chrysler arrived late to the lifestyle van party, but turned up dressed better than almost everyone else. The Drifter package was properly thought through. Charger-style grille, sports steering wheel, color-coded bumpers, styled wheels, bold decals, and the 265 Hemi 6 paired with a 4-speed manual as standard. That is not a parts bin special, that is conviction. The CL Drifter was produced in small numbers, which at the time probably felt like a commercial disappointment. Today, it means rarity. And rarity means that a clean CL Drifter is one of the most exciting panel van discoveries an Australian collector can make. Chrysler built something genuinely special here and barely got the credit for it. The Drifter deserved better in 1977, and it deserves better now. Consider this its overdue recognition. Now it becomes a two-horse fight. Ford's strongest factory van takes its shot at the Holden that turned panel vans into folklore. The XC Sundowner is Ford's greatest panel van, and it is not particularly close. Based on the Falcon 500 van, the Sundowner package transformed it into a genuine rival for everything Holden was producing in the lifestyle van space. Everything from bonnet scoops, full instrumentation, sports wheels, driving lights, bold decals, and an attitude that made absolutely clear this van was not carrying plumbing supplies. Ford built the XC Sundowner as a direct answer to the Holden Sandman, and to their enormous credit, they got it right. The XC had the looks, the equipment level, and the cultural presence to stand alongside its famous rival without embarrassment. Today, the XC Sundowner is one of the most coveted Australian panel vans in existence. Prices are high, examples are rare, and the people who own them are not letting go without a very significant conversation about money. The HQ Sandman was produced for just 9 months in 1974, which makes its cultural impact one of the most extraordinary stories in Australian automotive history. Holden took the HQ panel van, gave it GTS-style features, bucket seats, wild factory colors, and Sandman decals, and created a personality so strong it practically introduced itself at the party. It arrived at precisely the right cultural moment. Marketed as a recreational van for a generation spending every available weekend at the beach. Australia was ready for it, and Holden had the good sense to build something genuinely worthy of the occasion. Every panel van on this list owes something to the HQ Sandman. The Sundowner, the Drifter, the Surfaroo, all of them exist in its shadow. It is the benchmark, the icon, and the undisputed #1. Nothing else was ever going to take this spot. The panel van era produced some of the most characterful machines this country ever built, and we are lucky enough to still have plenty of them around. Which one is your favorite? Type it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, click subscribe, because there's plenty more Australian automotive history where this came from. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.